Episode 8 of the Daily Dozen. We're the recruiting roundup guys, powered by Rock and Refuel Varsity. Jason Jewell, I'm Jared Cohen. Let's get started with another quarterback for episode 8.
Yeah, Austin Nussel had great stats last season as a sophomore at Desert Mountain. Threw for 2,400 yards, had 25 touchdowns. Now, you have to imagine and have to think that Nussel's stats are only going to improve when you have Kurt Warner as your quarterbacks coach. You know, future Hall of Famer, Pro Bowl, Super Bowl MVP. So I'm expecting a big junior season for Nussel and for Desert Mountain.
Going over to North Canyon, I think this is going to be a team that's going to turn a lot of heads now that they're down at Division III. John Akwali is their top playmaker, does it on both sides of the ball, plus he'll do it on special teams. Great kid. Saw his recruiting really blow up in the offseason. North Canyon didn't win a game last season. That'll change this year because of the leadership. Very underrated aspect about John Akwali, his leadership. Plus, along with his twin brother Nimi playing running back and linebacker, North Canyon will be an improved bunch.
Now, Mountain Point, they lost a bunch of players off of last season's team, but on defense, they returned a couple, and one that I really like, big fan of Vavrix Owens, their linebacker, had 57 tackles, 4.5 sacks last season. Guy flies all over the field, makes a bunch of plays, saw him out in spring football, big fan of him then, does a lot of good things. I know Coach Vaughn's expecting a good senior season, him to jump up and lead this team if they're going to continue the success they've had in the recent past.
Sal Point has great bookend tackles. We mentioned Dylan Eckmeyer already. On the other side, it's going to be Andrew Palomares, 6'4", 275 pounds. Hey, when Sal Point won state 2 years ago, they had one of the best offensive lines in the state. With Palomares along with Eckmeyer, maybe they can repeat things in Division II.
Seems like I've been covering a Palomino since I started working for Scout.com. First it was Addison, played at Pinnacle High School, then went to Idaho. Then it was Devin, played at Deer Valley, quarterback, now at the University of San Diego. Now the last one, the final one, Easton Palomino, the quarterback at Deer Valley High School. Deer Valley had a great season last year. Now the rumor is that Easton is the best of the three brothers, which is saying something huge considering that the other two ended up being Division I players. A kid that's 6'3", 180 pounds, and has a very strong arm.
Let's go to a special teams guru, Tavian Patrick over at Desert Ridge High School. He's going to play wide receiver. He's going to make a huge impact, but what he really does that makes Desert Ridge dynamic on special teams is the way he can return kicks. He's got great speed, had never run track in his life until last spring, and he ends up in the final heat at the state championships for the 100 meters. Tavian Patrick, one of the fastest guys in Arizona, and he's going to be a huge threat for Jeremy Hathcock and Desert Ridge.
I already mentioned one Mountain Point star on defense. Now I'm going to talk about another, Isaiah Polomau, big junior safety over at Mountain Point. So when I say big, he is. He's 6'4". He weighs 190 pounds right now. He is only going to get bigger. 4-star prospect by Scout.com, has offers from all over the Pac-12 already. Again, I mentioned only going to be a junior. This kid is an absolute monster. Had 6 interceptions last year as a sophomore. Played for them on varsity as a freshman a little bit. A guy that I really like. I know Coach Vaughn is a big fan of him as well, as are all those Pac-12 coaches that have already offered him scholarships.
Brian Ramirez over at Cactus High School in Peoria. He was a breakout player last season for the Cobras, playing the linebacker position. Hard hitting, has great anticipation, great ball awareness on the defensive side of the ball. So they are moving him to defensive back this season, so he instantly becomes one of the better defensive backs to spotlight going into this season.
There's only been 2 kids I've ever covered that I've heard that bench press over 500 pounds. They both come from Hamilton High School. The first was Christian Westerman. The second now is Garrett Rand, their 4-star defensive tackle, guy that's an absolute monster, has the bench press record at Hamilton High School. A guy has offers from everywhere, all over the country, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Arizona State, just a force inside, and a guy that you have to double team at the high school level.
Chandler High School loaded with talent. There's nothing new there, but they add another piece coming into the season on the defensive line that could make them really dynamic on the defensive side of the ball. Hamilcar Rashid, he comes from Cesar Chavez, where he had a reported 20 sacks last season. Great pass rusher, great size, has next level ability, and he brings an element to Chandler High School from an outside pass rushing standpoint that we haven't seen since the likes of Deion Jordan and Cameron Jordan wore the blue uniform.
The Boulder Creek Jaguars were a breakout team in 2014, and part of the reason was the big-time performance of their big receiver, Troy Reed. He had over 1,000 yards receiving, all coming from quarterback Gunther Johnson. If they're going to continue to improve and play well in Division I, they're going to have to have another big season out of Reed.
And finally, to wrap up this episode, we're going back to long snappers. Jason mentioned an episode of episode 1 of the Daily Dozen, that Arizona's become a really long-standing fraternity for great long snappers to the next level. Another one to mention, Donald Ryder Brophy does a great job, snaps on those punts. He's an important piece to the Brophy Broncos that are looking to go at a state championship with the senior and junior-led group in 2015. That's it for Daily Dozen episode number 8.